allegiance. State that flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first order of business tonight is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Oh, before I do that, we have 3 board members that are present on phones, and so for all our approvals tonight, we're going to do roll call voting just so we can capture everybody tonight. So for everything will go that way. It'll take a little bit longer, but that way everybody can be heard.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry.
Oh, Maxwell, aye.
Yeah.
Bergfeld, aye. Lindemann, aye.
Wood, aye.
Detmer, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Deputy Neese, aye for the approval of the agenda. Aye.
Okay. So now, we have some students from government class. If you want to, before we move on to the public comments, if you want to stand and say who your teacher is, and also I'm going to throw a little bit of wrinkle in there to what your favorite subject is, and it cannot be PE, lunch, or recess.
I'm Mr. Marmion, and my favorite subject is science.
Okay. And your name too, sorry.
Anthony Grimmer.
Thank you.
I'm Christian Hughes. I also have Mr. Marmion and probably English.
Okay.
Bella Tonto, Mr. Marmion, and algebra.
You said algebra?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, moving on to comments and suggestions from citizens. Is there anybody here present that would like to say anything? We do have the forum online too. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And roll call on the consent agenda approval. John?
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye. Lindemann, aye. Detmer, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Glenn, roll call for aye.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, motion approved. Okay, moving on to there are no recognitions tonight, correct?
Correct.
Okay, bills, Jill?
Thank you. This evening I have $654,219.56 presented worth of bills for approval. The items that I selected to highlight include a payment to AUL Health Benefit Trust and AUL Special Pay Trust for $70,742 and $27,530 respectively. That's the final payment that we had to make for the 2022 early retirees. There's a payment to Bethany for Children and Families on page 6 for $7,234 for mental health services, and that will be paid back with the GEAR 2 grant. And a payment to Bonzac and Bromelt for $9,025 for the completion of our FY22 financial statement audit. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
I make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the bills? So Jill, I guess I had a question. So the first one you had listed here, that was for the 2020 early retirements, so we're completely paid
Yep.
on that.
Yep.
And that's the last time we did early retirement. Right? Okay, we'll do roll call for paying the bills.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye. Lindemann, aye.
Wood, aye.
Detmer, aye.
Okay, Pratt, aye.
Glenn for the bills. Jeffy, aye.
All right, motion approved, thank you. All right, moving on to reports now. I think we have the junior high FFAs here to present. Bernie, are you?
Yeah, I'm just going to introduce our crew here tonight. Mrs. Wiedemann came to us this year. She was an experienced ag teacher, which we felt very fortunate to bring on board here at North Scott. She's done a wonderful job since starting at the junior high, collaborating with Jacob and Emily at the high school, to really build up the junior high ag program and also drum up even more interest in our junior high FFA. So tonight she's going to be highlighting for you some wonderful things she's doing in her junior high ag tech class, and then talk about some junior high FFA highlights. So I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, appreciate it. So I'll go ahead and step here to the back as well so I can just sort of see you guys. So yeah, as Bernie just said, my name is Courtney Wiedemann. I grew up here in the Quad Cities. Originally, I did my schooling both at Blackhawk, specifically Blackhawk East is where I attended for junior college, and then I transferred to Oklahoma State University and finished out my degree there, and student taught actually out in western Oklahoma as well. I was fortunate then to go up to Northern Illinois and taught for 2 years previously in Sycamore Community School District up there, specifically in the high school level, before coming here to North Scott. So that's just a little bit of background on me and some of my education experience. All right, so today we are going to highlight what has basically been going on here in the program for this past semester. So first off, we are going to highlight around our three-circle model. So the first thing is our classroom and laboratory instruction. So that is the actual classroom piece or portion to our program, and that is Ag Tech. So Ag Tech, we currently have 187 students enrolled, and that has been fluctuating as students have come in and come out of the class as well. But we do have a total of 11 sections offered. Units covered up to this point include Intro to Ag and History, as well as Soil Science, Intro to FFA, and then we are currently in our plant systems. Now, with that being said, we are looking forward to possibly covering food products and processing systems, as well as power, structural, and technology. We will also be talking about natural resources and environmental service systems, etc. The plan is to get all these units covered more in depth and versus just like having 1 week on each unit. Is we are going to have an A-B cycle year. So A cycles, we will cover a certain amount of units or certain units, while B cycle year, we will cover a different set of units. So that's the plan there. So far this year, we've had 4 classroom guest speakers come in. We've had Mr. Ingden. He was our Master's of Soil Science. He has that from University of Minnesota. And he came in and spoke to the class, and in a second here, you'll see some pictures from that day as well. We actually had a soil pit dug out back behind the junior high, and he walked through with the classes the soil horizons, how to texture soil, and all that good stuff. And then we had Annie Bauer, as well as Kyle Harold and Cameron Hart. They all serve with the FFA Iowa Association. And they came in and ran leadership activities for a couple days with the students during our Intro to FFA. We have also had our field trip, which was for Harvest Day, out to the fields for the Ag Tech class. If you'd like to change it to the next slide. Here are, again, some of the pictures highlighting all of those experiences and learning opportunities that we've had so far in this class, just in first semester alone. As you can see, sort of top row, that is the soil pit out back. And then in the bottom row, and then on the far right are the Harvest Day, as well as then the leadership pictures too from FFA leadership. Next up, we have our experiential learning, or what we term in the Ag Ed program model, or SAE, Supervised Agricultural Experience Project. So currently with this portion, we have 2 students who are participating in Agri-Science Fair, and they're actually running projects right now, looking at and researching various items within agriculture. So one project is looking at homemade remedies of weed killers versus like store-bought, and seeing what would be best. And then we also have a student looking at dog training, so the amount of dog training or amount of expertise you have in training dogs, and how does that correlate to you being able to identify stress signs in your dogs. So those are the 2 projects that we are currently working on there. Now with this piece, there are a lot more here that can get built upon. So with future plans, We have an online actually tracking system for learning opportunities and experiences. So we'll be utilizing that in class, as well as focusing that around more career exploration. And then I will be collaborating more with our 7th and 8th grade counselors on that to try and bring that career exploration piece in. And finally, for our 3-circle model, we have then our leadership portion. So again, Ag Ed, that is our FFA organization. We would like to first off recognize Ryan Squires again for winning the National Agri-Science Fair in Division I in Environmental Service Systems. He is our first winner from this program. And then we would like to go ahead and introduce and recognize our officer team. This is the 2nd officer team of the North Scott Junior High Ag program. So please stand to be recognized when your name's called. So President, we have Kelsey Hilson back here today. Vice President, we have Max Van Noorstall. Secretary, we have Haley Burkle. Reporter, we have Braden Schroeder. Treasurer, we have Tucker Keating. And unfortunately tonight, our Sentinel and our historian were unable to join us, but they were Kadrian Holst and Kenzie Gabrielson, respectively. Thank you guys. You guys did amazing. We would also like to recognize these individuals here that are with us and the other 2 who are not able to be with us for their hard work to lead this brand new program and chapter. Through their dedication and their leadership, we have been able to partake in multiple different activities. 3 up here are highlighted in particular. So we had our Village of East Davenport Farm Days. We had a total of 6 students assist. This was about the first week of class. So I was very excited to have that many students be interested to come help. A total of 600 community members were reached during that time. Veterans Day, we did multiple activities there. A total of 22 assisted, and we passed out 70 ribbons and 8 baskets to various staff, as well as those that attended the Veterans Day Assembly. And then finally, Hometown Holiday, we had a total of 12 students assist, and again, over 200 community members were reached. So on this next slide, we have all of our pictures from all kinds of different activities outside of just those 3 as well. In the lower left-hand corner, I want to point out that picture was actually at our chapter meeting. We've had very good attendance and a lot of interest in terms of like people coming to our chapter meetings and students coming. Here we have Dave Marcia from Wapsie River Center, and then he presented on natural resources and invasive species and actually brought some animals in, which was a really cool experience. We also did lunch on the farm, as well as Ignite conference. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you see that is a bison farm. We actually were able to take a tour there on our way out to National FFA Convention as well. So just to wrap up, we are excited to continue supporting the Eldridge community, as well as our diverse student population here in North Scott. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions by chance?
How many kids do you have in your chapter?
So, yes, good question. So we are affiliated is what the term is. So all ag tech students are FFA members, so 187 currently. Yep. Yep, we don't want that being a barrier in terms of students not being able to pay membership dues or something like that. So we just went ahead and did that affiliation.
So what's the trend from junior high as it progresses into high school, where you have even more opportunities? What do you see? Like, do you see a majority of the students sticking with it, or do you like?
Honestly, this is my first year here,
Okay.
so I have not been here long enough to be able to like see an established trend yet.
Sure.
My hope is, yes, definitely, that we can, again, we're just highlighting pieces within the ag tech course of ag, because
So they're,
there's
like,
how many
high school
different
students coming
pathways.
too?
I'm
Are
sorry.
you like, is Jacob and all his classes, is there like some interaction between like, so they can see like what they're gonna be doing at the high school level?
So for example, like our plant unit we're in right now. So we're getting a little bit of a taste of everything from like, right now we just finished up like seed germination. to actually, we're gonna talk about floral designing, and my hope is that I can bring in a florist from the local community as well, to then like actually starting our own like produce and harvesting that later on. But here's the deal, all that can lead into some of the the classes here. So give them a little bit of a taste of everything, and then that way when they get to high school, they can be pick a more specialized course, for example, like our turf grass management course or something like that.
It's really great to see so many kids involved. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining our team.
Absolutely. Excited to be
Thank you
here.
guys for coming.
Yeah,
Very
thanks.
nice.
And you didn't even have to present either.
Yes. That was a big concern. Yes.
Courtney, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Thank
thank
you.
you, appreciate it.
No admin reports tonight, because we haven't done anything.
We haven't done
since-
anything since our last meeting, just 1 week of school, 4 days.
Moving on to new business, Joe, I think we have the approval of the at-risk and dropout prevention program funding.
Correct. So above on the screen, you'll see an estimated 2024 at-risk budget. It totals $1,591,000, very comparable to the prior year of $1,595,000, and it will be supporting the same programs it has in the past. The district has to contribute 25% of the program, and the maximum amount of MSA that we can ask for is $1,045,470. The estimated budget does exceed the 25% and the maximum MSA a little bit, as it has in the past. That's not unusual. But due to the budget exceeding that, this evening I asked for board approval to request the modified supplemental amount of $1,045,470.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, roll call vote.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye. Lindemann, aye. Dittmer, aye.
Okay, Pratt, aye.
Land for the dropout prevention. Aye. Kepi, aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to the regional center timeline. Joe, do you want to?
All right, yeah, so what led to this tonight is we did receive the $1 million grant from the state to go towards our regional center. But in order to get that grant, we have to have signed contracts by March 31st of this year. And so we put together, had the architects at Russell Construction put together a timeline which will go out to bid when we get back from spring break on March 20th, be able to approve, hopefully, the bids to do that. Now, in order to do that, there's still fundraising that's happening, and so that really puts us in the position to have to fund potentially more than we would have originally said within the running the referendum. Now, when we ran the referendum, we also said that we're asking for more money in case things get more expensive. You have a chart in front of you. It was sent to you today after we had our facility committee meeting. Molly asked some great questions on trying to put things into a different spreadsheet so you could see everything, architect fees and all of that. And then I added a few other things. So basically I was trying to create, I hate to use the word worst case scenario, but being very conservative on numbers, making sure the expenses are in there, and not putting any money that we hope we get, but that we know that we have. And so, for example, obviously you see the architect fees in here now. We added money to all the other projects. So welding went from 1.7 to 2 million. Junior high went from 3.5 to 4. Neil Armstrong went from 5.8 to 6.5. Lancer Stadium went from 5 to 5.5. So I was anticipating things going up, potentially even on those projects, because I didn't want to assume they're going to come in on budget, but everything, well, the softball field did come in on budget, even the original budget. But we'll know next week where Alan Shepard is at. But we know Alan Shepard's bigger because we added the size of the kitchen got bigger. for it. So anyway, so I've added those type of things in there. I did go ahead and put in, for the Regional Innovation Center, $500,000 towards furnishing that would come from the district potentially, even though we know we're gonna be fundraising in that area. Added the $800,000 for the rec center remodel, not knowing, for sure what we're gonna spend, but I wanted to put some money in there for that. So we did some things like that, and to show what happens each year. And for the next few years, obviously, if we don't get the fundraising of any type, things get really tight until 26, 27, when we're done paying for these. Then we start having the ability back with our 1.5 million. It's really 1.35 for projects, and 150,000 goes towards technology. All of that starts working back and reaccumulating money again. And so that's what the chart was to show. The cash is there. Spending down balances lower than we've had in the past, but it isn't like we don't have the money. We have several local grants that we feel really comfortable about. We got a group looking at our project next week to hopefully get some more information. We have Miller Meeks' office working with them about from federal, and we'll be working with the state too. So we're pursuing other money, and hopefully we get other money. But in order to be on this timeline, we're stretching ourselves to say, well, we want this project to go through, and knowing that it's going to take time to get the money. But and so that's why the proposal is really to approve the timeline. In reality, you don't actually approve the money to go towards this till March 20th. Because if it comes in at 24 million, let's say, obviously we're not in a position to approve a $24 million facility. You can see on this chart, there's not $24 million sitting here, or that extra money above that. So we're looking for approval for the timeline. With the expectation, we could be spending an additional $3.5 million if we don't get it fundraised.
Okay. Have a motion for the,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
okay, any discussion? I know, Joe, go ahead. I know on this, we've looked at a lot of spreadsheets over this, so I appreciate you and Jill's time and kind of going over this too. So I assume, you've done your part and you've conferred with Jill just to make sure that, this is not worst case, I would call it the upper limit.
The upper limit, that's probably a better term, thank you. Yeah.
Of what we're trying to do here.
Correct.
too. And we
Yep.
kind of ran into a similar situation with cash flow with the YMCA, correct?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, because we had to pay all cash for
Right.
that, and we didn't know if we had to borrow from ourselves, and we never had to do that.
okay. Molly?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of questions. I know we just got the detailed spreadsheet today, so I've been feverishly looking over it. Question about the EICCD grant, the $4 million, is that the $3 million they've already promised us plus the $1 million in furnishings?
Correct, and
Okay.
so it works into the $3 million works into the calculation for the building of it. The $1 million you see is on the Regional Center furnishings 24. That's the revenue for it.
Okay, you said we had 500,000 in furnishings. What's the extra million in 24? Is that, or is it actually 1.5 million that we're gonna have the district pay for furnishings?
What line are you at on in?
Regional Innovation Center furnishings, you mentioned the 500,000 in FY25, but in
Correct.
FY24, there's another million.
Correct, it totals $1.5 million.
That's EICCD's portion. I showed the revenue for their $1 million that they're giving and the $1 million for their expense that they're paying.
Isn't that already in the grants above, the regional center grants above is 4 million?
Yes.
So line,
So, so we have the regional grant for $1 million from the state. We have $4 million total from Eastern Iowa. So we have $5 million towards this project. But I have $1.5 million towards furnishings within this budget.
but this furnishing then assumes that the million is from the regional grant, not for the building, right? So the 4 million is the 3 million plus, 3 million for that, plus that. So you have to take out $1 million of this, which means we're negative for FY23 balance, cash balance, right? Of 42,000?
We did put in, yeah, you're right, but we're not negative. We could take that $1 million out and we'd actually just gain $1 million.
So we wouldn't put that, we wouldn't put any of our, we wouldn't put that million towards furnishings, we would only expect to furnish the bathrooms?
I don't know if we would commit to furnishings as much as we could afford.
We won't know
I think would be
furnishings
fair to
until we
say.
get to that process.
So we really were putting in, under the Regional Innovation Center furnishings, what we thought we could afford based on all the other costs. Is that helpful?
I see what you're saying. Her regional grant should have been 3 million because with the other 1 million below it was 4 million. So we actually have $1 million more in
Over.
expenses. So our number, instead of being a minus 872, is a positive 230,000.
And so when you talk about the fund balances that we've had, I know we've had, and the ending cash balances, like we went down when we had the Y, right? We were below $1 million. But typically we run for what, sales tax is Fund 33, we typically go to 2.8 to 3 million, it looks like, for the last 3 years. But what we're saying is we're willing to go from 24, 25 through 28, we're willing to be under $1 million, anywhere from 250,000 to 6 million, 700, I'm sorry. So we're willing to have an ending cash balance of 250,000 to 700,000 during those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 years, 5 years.
Correct. If we don't get any fundraising at all, that's what those numbers would be.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no number to say you're supposed to carry over, save, and that. But prior to when I first got here, that number was like 6 million. The former business manager's philosophy was carry over as much as you were bringing in, and we had 6 million plus. We've been bringing those numbers down. But I would agree, I don't want to see those numbers that low. We'd like to have emergency case money sitting in there. But that's what that does say, is in our worst, what you call it?
Upper limit.
Our upper limit would put us at a lower amount within our reserves that we'd like for those two funds.
Okay.
Yep.
Same thing with the Pebble is, we didn't go 2 to 3, 2.8 to 3, 1.7 to 2.6 million, but it's still around the same 250 to 300 to 800,000. So for the 5 years, we're going to be under anywhere from 250 to 800,000 in that as an ending balance. Right?
I'd also add though that it also assumes we're spending our annual budget, which the reason why we had such a large balance is like we historically have never done that, right? So this assumes we're gonna spend $1.5 million on other projects.
In the past, we've only spent what we brought in, right?
We spent less than
Less than what we brought in, like we
Typically-
saved cash to pay for the Y, you know what I mean? So for
Because we knew that was coming for 2 or 3 years, right? But in this case, we're not, we're spending down. We're basically saying we're committing to what we're getting every year in revenues for, I mean, plus obviously the bonds, but we're saying we're committing what we're getting in revenues, nearly the entire amount to the projects over the next 5 years.
In our,
Right.
and
through
that's.
2025.
Yeah.
After 2025, we could accumulate $1.35 million every year if we wanted to.
So we show it as an expense, but we don't have any project allocated for that 1.3 million in 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We just put it in parentheses to show that money's available. It's not allocated to anything. So in reality, it's the fund balance plus 1.35 million.
Okay, so if that's the case, where is our bonds that we're paying down? Because I see the bonds for debt series payments, right? So 2013, 14, 23, the 2013 and 14 equal the 1.3 million that we see today, right,
Yeah.
on the schedule. And then what we're saying is that for the 45 million that we're borrowing in bonds, or is this only for the 20 million, that we're only adding an additional 756,000 every year?
Correct, because it's a wraparound bond. In order for us to be able to do this and to have cash flow, we're only paying interest on our new issue until it's paid off. So for FY30, you'll see the.
1.9?
Yes, and so that is 100% towards the new issue because the old issues have fallen off.
And that's just for the SAVE bonds. The GEO bonds have their own revenue source via the tax that we collect for that. That's not shown on either one of these charts.
And we don't have to pay anything for those, the GEO
Well,
bonds?
we will, but that revenue was not shown on here. That's a tax directly. That's what we passed the vote for. Jill just didn't show that on the bottom chart. She could have showed the revenue of.
Yeah, that's there, in FY25, it's 25 million. right?
Well, that's what we're gonna gain in revenue for us, I'm sorry, the expense.
Okay.
There will be an expense, we'll start paying them back just like we did above, but it's spelled out in the tax collection that we have, that's up and above all of this.
Okay, so
Yeah.
property taxes will pay
Property
for
tax,
that? It
correct.
will not be, bills will not be coming out of these funds?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, that's why, we could have put that on there, it would have clarified it for you
Okay.
better, but that has its own revenue source in order to pay it back.
Which we know based on property values and estimations over the next 5 to 7 years, there's hardly any increase in people's, that they won't really see.
Yeah, it's a two-year increase, then it's only a little bit, then it starts going back down.
Okay.
And of course, this year, the state will know more tomorrow, after tomorrow night, there's an attempt to try to lower property tax even further. So we'll have to see how that impacts us.
Okay. So one question, if the fitness center, I think we've heard fitness center may or may not need a roof. I think the city's been talking about that.
It's a
Where would
steel
that go?
roof, it's a steel roof on there. If anything, it would be a repair needed, not a,
Okay.
there is no, it doesn't need a roof.
You're not
It's a
gonna
steel
reshingle
roof.
it.
You're not, there's nothing to redo on the roof, other than if there had to be a hole, it would be fixed, but it's a steel roof on that building.
Okay. So I think that was one of the topics when the city was talking about the fitness center, of the cost to repair, and, so I got asked about that from actually an Old Rouge resident, so.
Yeah,
that's why.
yeah. I went and drove by, because Scott said it's steel roof. I said, I don't remember that, so I drove by just to confirm it myself, that it's
Yeah.
a steel roof on there.
I have some additional questions, and I'll let other people speak if they want to.
Any other questions from the group, those on the phone?
Joni said no
Joni
questions.
said, Frank?
Yeah, Mark, I have a question on, we talked about fundraising. Have we started fundraising, or are we waiting for fundraising to come in after we okay that we're gonna go ahead and go for this, regional center? And I guess my question would be, what's the incentive for fundraising if people know that things gonna be paid for?
Well, there's several grants that we'll be writing as part of that fundraising that wouldn't impact it, that even though we'd have the ability, because I've talked to those organizations. Outfitting it too, there's different businesses that want to help outfit it. That part is not started. Partly is to try to get the final design, make sure we're still on pace to go after it. The group is ready to get going. Obviously, we wrote $1 million grant that we received. And so we'll continue working on the ability to raise. I would love to see between $2 and $4 million get raised to help with that. Because not only does it get tight, there's other things that we would as a district be doing, and that's the story that we have to tell of why this is a regional center facility. We have had a commitment within our mind. Obviously, things have gone up, but we have other things that we'd be doing in our district.
Is there a spot or anybody who's collecting funds right now of people who would like to donate?
There's
Is that something that they would go through the Lancer Legacy or earmark it for the Ag Regional Center, for the Regional Center, or,
Yeah.
I just know that there are times when if somebody wanted to donate some money to the Lancer Legacy, they could do that. And I know personally, I donated for the softball field, knowing that it was gonna be moved. But I wrote right on my donation, this is for the softball field. Now, I don't know what the Lancer Legacy, bookkeeper did, if they kept track of all that. Hopefully they did. So they would know how much money was out there. Because I know that when we built a lab, Lancer Legacy came in and helped with, furnishings there, and so forth. So they've done some of that with the new game facility, the Lancer Legacy did something. So do we know if there's any money in the Lancer Legacy, has anybody donated for that, or the regional center?
Yeah, not for the regional center yet, but there will be an offshoot of Lancer Legacy. There will be a group there. Lancer Legacy's been in conversations about this fundraising coming up. They do have money still sitting in Lancer Legacy that will have to be determined whether it's for softball or whatever they decide would be doing. But this will be an offshoot for that. And that committee has done a lot of work, late work over the last few years on generating a list of names and different areas to approach. We've been approached by the veterinarians organization within the area that is very interested in helping with the vet tech program. I know our construction program has been contacted by people who want to see that. So we're very confident. We have a group of very motivated people that just need the final things put together to get go. But it will be done under the Lancer Legacy umbrella.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, Frank?
None here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the design changes. So can you talk about, we were at, the estimates when it came in, we're at 22.5 million for the building, right? When they- when you
24
did the
million, I think is what it was.
24?
The very last one, estimate was 24 million.
Okay, so 24 million, and we made some changes to get it down to,
To,
19
well,
and a half
we're
right
on
now.
19.5. That's been the hard number between 18 and 19.5, and we're still working at getting to that 19.5 number. So a lot of it was none of the inside, other than at one point we were designing an HVAC lab. Eastern Iowa started building a second one down in Muscatine, so they really didn't want to see us going in that direction. So that one on the inside has been left blank. The amount of square footage is still there, but it's not being built out. So there's a savings there. And then it came down to a lot of the structural stuff on the outside. And this is Mark's expertise. He was involved in moving, because I don't, it's gables. Did I say it right?
Yes.
There was gables that they had put in that they estimated when they were designing it from architect, it should be a couple $100,000, it was $2 million.
was that all the steel?
The steel
kind of
look,
fancy-
yeah, very
fancy
fancy
stuff?
roof
Okay.
line, things like that. And so we started changing the outside to simplify the building, to bring it in, to produce a structure that would come in at a much lower cost for it. And so, where'd that paper go?
I mean, if you look at the drawings
There you
and the
go.
cross
So there's a-
section, it basically now looks like the lab, right? With an elevated roof on one side and a shorter roof on the other side, right?
Very similar, yes,
Okay.
in that sense.
So
Yep.
square footage has not changed.
Square footage, the thing we protected when that group got together was we want the amount, the space on the inside is extremely important, what we want to use it for. If we start changing that up, well, we can't get the use out of it, so that would be the last thing we would look at. And so that's why we looked at everything other than changing the square footage space and how it was laid out. So to get it down even further was eliminate the HVAC square footage, but then it took and it turned a couple of the other areas, but by just turning them, even keeping the square foot, forced you to realign that. The construction lab, I look at James, would have been one that would have done that. We could have kept the same space, but it wouldn't have been a usable space the way they had to turn it, in order to still square up the building by taking something out in not the center, but close to the center. And so we did look at that too.
So keeping it the same footprint was actually the best, most efficient way.
It was, well, squaring up the building,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, you want a square building, you want a rectangle building. But so the goal was not to touch the inside, other than not build out that HVAC lab space area. It could be automated automation, manufacturing, or something. Might be something different in the future, but we can decide that in the future because it exists, and we didn't take it out.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
just won't furnishing, we won't be offering an HVAC, any sort of HVAC classes and?
Not at this time, not at this
Okay.
time.
What else, any other pathways, what pathways are gonna go in there?
So
Any
you-
other pathways that were cut?
Nope.
Or,
Just the HVAC is the one that we had talked about, and that one really came out at the last minute. It really was brought forth by Eastern Iowa Community College. Now, the person who brought it forward, I don't think realized that they committed to building a second lab in Muscatine, because they have a year waiting list at Scott Community College for a program they took from 2 years to 1 year. That would have fit really nice for what we're doing. And then under the current leadership, they just thought, no, we'd be gambling our 2 programs now, because we've already tried to get rid of that year waiting list type of
Okay.
program.
So-
And so all other programs are the exact same as we had presented a few months ago to the board.
okay. So we'll still have, can you give those pathways? 'Cause I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
sure if
yeah, so we'll have
people-
diesel, we'll have a diesel pathway, we'll have our construction pathway, and then we have plant science and animal science, we have a vet tech certificate, yay. better. Say that again?
Culinary.
Culinary. We have entrepreneurship, you know, we have a lot of potential to grow a lot of pathways within this, but the original ones that are there to get started right away are those ones that I.
But even within the construction one, you've got electrical, plumbing, and.
Oh, we're gonna increase the amount of electric we have and plumbing we have, yeah. I mean, the ability for us to expand what we currently do in all those areas. Diesel doesn't exist for high school kids anywhere in the area. And diesel A, remember, is the focus. So it isn't just about working on a tractor trailer semi, right? It's more, it's also about the hydraulics and everything else that go with it too. And so.
But that would just be for our kids, right? Eastern Iowa is not bringing their program here. It's
Correct.
just for
Yeah,
Eastern.
yeah, they're not. Now, we would hope that they would see an adult program focused on that someday. But right now, Eastern Iowa is really focused on getting us started for our concurrent courses, right? So that's their main focus.
So we know construction is already there, right? We've already got the construction pathways.
We do, we
What
just need-
other existing pathways are going in there that will be moving? Or are they all new?
They would all be, Shane, I'll let you answer that question. They're all,
The level of them are new because right now we don't have like college classes connected. I mean, we get a few, you know, plant science about every other year sort of thing, but we don't have a facility for it. And this would allow us then to add the college classes too.
Because the scope is still 11, 12th graders, 13, 14, right?
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
the targeted age ranges
Yeah.
for the upper level classes.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I think, you know, as we look at it, there's probably lots of flex, things that 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we'll go, oh, we never envisioned that happening there, and it does happen, because it makes sense as we start using it too. Sitting in today, talking about the certified kitchen, putting in there, that can be good for culinary, but the processing, you know, are we gonna be able to get a flash freezer in there? So when we process the tilapia, process chickens, we get to freeze them right away and then sell them out of the marketplace that's designed on things like that. I mean, those are all those things that are in the work that you think about, boy, where could we go when we're teaching our kids, when we have the ability to get to that. But, you know, I really like the idea of the vet tech certificate program. It doesn't exist anywhere in this area, you know, and so I see, you know, when we think of regional, the draw, I think the two biggest draws, or the three biggest, is our A draws. That'll be higher level than anybody else in the area, but a vet tech certificate and a diesel program, this is it, this is where it exists. So the ability for kids in the surrounding area to come, those I think are the three greatest draws for this area.
Okay. So still, I think last time we talked, it was like an 84,000 square foot building, right?
Off my head, I hate to say it, what it is. It's the same square footage. We have not lowered the square footage
Okay.
from last time. So if you're using the numbers that we talked about last time, yes, that is.
Probably from August or so?
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not changed the inside footprint.
Okay. Which, just to give people an idea, it's basically, you take our lab and you send it to First Street, right? It's 3 times the size of our lab, so that's the size of building that we're talking about. Okay. This leads into a question, I know I've asked the question before, so of those new classes, new things, 11th and 12th graders, how many kids do we think are going to be, do we expect to be using that facility?
So I pulled up their last, the ratio that we shared before, and I'll just go through it. They had like egg leadership, 8 for 2022. So I don't know if these are first semester, second semester, 21, 22, Shane, would you say? So it'd be 17 for that. Egg work-based learning had 1. Intro to egg science, is that out there? That's in
And
high
I know
school.
we've gotten the numbers before of classes, so if I have an ag tech class that has 20 kids in the seats, and you have 3 of those sections, you told us it's 60 kids. What I wanna know is how many individual kids are gonna be driving out to that facility? Are we talking 300, are we talking 100, are we talking half of those, 500 kids that we have in 11th and 12th grade? How many kids are we going to have in that building?
At
that
one
are gonna
time,
be,
or
that
just
are
throughout
gonna
the
be
whole
attending
day?
classes, right? Because I mean, if you tell me there's people, there's 10 students that are taking 6 classes and you tell me it's 60, then we have 400. I think the total numbers, if you add up all the classes, the last sheet we saw, there was expected to be 486 seats times classes that we have to get that total number, right? But how many people is that?
Well, if you look at, we have 121 unique ag students and 183 unique
do 50 of those of our current students without adding those pathways or adding other students coming in and not counting diesel.
You said 123 and 123?
121 and 183 are unique.
Okay.
And so, but that's not all of those, not all of those kids are going out there all the time, but some of those will be doubling up and stuff as well, so.
Yeah, but those are all 11 through 12 graders.
No, that's where I said that 400, so you probably, 150 of those are younger, so.
So you have construction too, right? I mean, I don't know if you're putting both of those groups together, ag and construction, or?
I'm just looking at, trying to look at the unique students here.
If I say the junior, senior on the construction side, probably about 100 currently would be going out there on the construction side.
And then I'd say the 125-ish, or the ag. If you take our automotive, probably another, I just don't know how many of those are gonna go into
If you
diesel.
figure regionally, probably one section of diesel might have 20 students in it.
I'm just figuring.
That tech probably
I'm
has
just
about
looking at
20, so
guys,
figuring out
not
40 in those two programs.
So about 250 to
Yeah.
250 kids.
Of
Okay.
ours, specifically of our scouts.
That we know, the other ones could come in open enrollment, they could come in, or new students, they could come in because they want to have those pathways, they could come in from the other districts.
Yep.
Right, but we don't get their full funding, we get a portion of that, right?
Yep, we get their percentage that we've kind of negotiated with them. And that's individuals, not them like taking multiple classes, you know, like we had shared before, we just did classes instead
Yeah.
of individuals.
Yep. So just to sum up, Joe, you're asking the board to approve up to what amount of spend for this?
So, and just the raw numbers is an extra 3.5 million to get us to the 19.5 million. Now, in the end, you're not approving the spending until March. The board, really, I'm asking with the intent, that's what we're going to do, but we really need to get on this timeline, right? So tonight, I'm really approving the timeline, because you don't get to approve the spending until we get the bids in. And so, you know, obviously we'd have a big issue if we think we got it back to 19.5 and it comes in at 24, right? Then we'll probably go back to the drawing board, figure out how to build a facility that comes in under budget, and we're a year delay at that point. It would not be good for us to put a timeline out, go out to bid, and we knew that the estimate was 19.5, it comes in at 19.5, and then we decide no, because we also have 4 other projects that become the bid. It'd be hard for anybody wanting to bid on us if they don't think we're serious. And so I wouldn't want to send that message. That's why it was important for me, for you guys to know, this is what I'm asking, because if we come in on March 20th, it comes in at 19.5, I would really highly recommend we approve it, so you guys have to approve it that night, because that's what we knew that was the estimate going into this for it. So that's why it's important to me. I want to get $1 million from the state. That's big. We need to stay on that timeline. This keeps us moving forward. And to know that we're still out there for 2 local grants that we're going to be writing. We've got a group looking at it next Wednesday. We're still working on a lot of others. I want to see these numbers go down for us so that we have more money within our fund balances, but there's other things that you know that we've all talked about, the facility committee and stuff, that we'd like to see get working sooner than later.
Yeah, I think because one of the things we're talking about facility committee is that when we're talking about this tonight, we're really, if we go out to bid, we'll, assuming they come in at 20 million or less, we're going forward. Whether we have with us assuming that we may pay up to 15.5 million, right?
Yep.
Any other discussion?
Joe, what would happen if this came in after 20, let's say it goes astronomical, it goes south of 20 mil, and then we start thinking, well, we gotta do something else. Can we keep $1 million from the state?
Well, we'd
Because
lose.
we got a timeline?
Yeah, we'd end up losing by having to reapply for that grant next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table, so we'll do roll call. Unless I've done the other ones, so you're done.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, nay.
Lindemann, aye. Jody? Dittmer, aye.
Frank?
Wood day.
Pratt, aye.
Glenn on the regional center timeline. Kathy, aye.
So we have, motion passes, so timeline's approved. On to the next step.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, go right ahead.
So I assume we would just, say full steam ahead and stuff. My concerns obviously are fund balances going that low. I know we're comfortable, but we also, like you said, Joe, we actually have 5 more projects to bid. And I know we built in some cushion there. But, this facility, we've seen it in the last 5 years grow from 3 million as part of an ag transportation facility, 7 million as a standalone, 12 million when we went to, 12 million as of almost a year ago, and then 18 million when we went out to bid. I think asking our taxpayers and parents who have children in lots of other areas that also have needs in the district, I don't think that's a risky predicament to be in, to say we'll spend an extra $3.5 million to get that $1 million grant. So I know some classes like trades have been busting at the seams for more than 5 years, probably more than that, and they're 10% of this building. So I think that reflects my opinions on making sure that we're being responsible with our funds, and that we are making sure that all students are covered. And thanks for the 250 number, Shane, because I've asked for that going on 18 months now, and this is the first time I've gotten that number. So I appreciate that, but it even further solidifies my opinion that a $20 million building for 250 children is something we should take a bigger look at. Also disappointed that we probably don't have any funding left for solar. We also mentioned to the public that the solar, if we put solar on all of our projects, which is why we built the buffer into the 45 million, would save us 500,000 out of the general fund, which is where teacher salaries come out of. So I don't know where there's funding for that, but I'm disappointed we're not looking at that too. So I respect the decision of the rest of the board, but those are my opinions.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments? Anybody? Okay. We'll move on to Premier plastering and drywall is what I have here. So sorry, James, if I butchered that. I assume that's for you. For the
Yeah, that's the proposal for the materials to paint, finish drywall at this building. And what we've done there, they've separated this out. Labor and material, I'm asking you to approve the full estimate at this time. The company is willing. I'm in conversations with the material supplier to see if we can get them to donate or discount those materials. And if we can secure that donation or discount, then they would, this company would charge us labor only. But at this time, we need to get the contract signed, and we don't have a commitment to donate or discount yet, so we need to approve the full contract.
Get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote to approve the agreement here.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye.
Lindemann, aye. Dittmer, aye.
Wood I.
Glenn.
Pratt, aye.
Kathy, aye.
Okay. All right. Motion passes. On to the Big Bear insulation agreement.
On this one, Troy Peterson has talked with his supplier, and he's worked with them to get the entirety of the insulation donated. He's going to work with the kids to teach them how to install the bad insulation in the walls, and then teach the kids how to blow in the insulation in the ceiling. So this has been discounted $2,500. We weren't able to get this revised, so forgive the handwritten notes here, but as per conversation with Troy Peterson, it's discounted $2,500 for a total of $44.45.
It's a great deal. So nice
Yes.
of them to do that.
Motion to approve before he changes his mind.
All right. Roll call vote to approve Big Bear installation.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye.
Linderman, aye.
Would I,
Detmer, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Glenn for the installation. Kepi, aye.
All right, motion passes. On to Barnett's House of Fireplaces.
And this is the labor and materials for the installation of the fireplace. The tax was removed again with some handwritten notes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Roll call to approve the fireplace.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye.
Linderman, aye.
would I,
Detmer, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Glenn on the fireplace. Aye for Kepi.
Okay. Motion passes. On to Hill Painting.
So I'm excited about this one. This is a 1993 Northside grad who moved to Minneapolis, started a painting company and was very successful there. Moved back recently, found out about the student loan home and was so excited to be a part of it. He discounted the job from $10,500 to $6,000. Just super excited to teach the kids, work with the kids. And so this is a major discount in this from a small business and a returning Northside grad.
That's great again.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, roll call to approve the Hill Painting.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye.
Linderman, aye.
would I,
Detmer, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Glenn for the hill painting. Aye for Kepi.
Motion passes. Thank you, James. I do have one question now. We got through all that. So what's the current status of the student bill home?
We're currently finishing up mechanicals. We're waiting for the gas meter to be installed. Once we get the mechanicals finished up, we can cover up inspection. Here within the next week or so, we should be starting to throw insulation in, and we'll try to get some heat on. As soon as we get a lid in and pour shoot the insulation in the ceiling, then we can turn the heat on, which the kids will be.
So they've been working in a cold house this whole time?
We're in a cold house, yeah, and we're, as often, the siding is usually a challenge, so a lot of siding goes up, a lot of siding comes down. So they're still outside, working on the siding, so they're getting close to being able to be working inside. And I don't know if you guys discussed this before I came in, I think you guys discussed the contract to sell.
That was on the consent agenda.
Okay,
So,
and was it made clear that our realtor is doing that pro bono?
I asked that question
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there was no percentage listed. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
she-
answered that
We
before.
said, we pay the percent for the,
Buyers.
For the buyer. We don't want people, we don't want realtors to steer their clients away from it. So we're paying a 2% when a buyer brings someone in. And our hope is that maybe our person that's working pro bono and selling it, maybe they bring in buyers.
yeah,
great. Thank you, James.
I wanted to make a comment. It is amazing to me how the community has rallied around this student-built home and been willing to give and give and give, and that is so tremendous. And I just heartfelt thanks to every single one of them and all that they do. It's incredible.
I appreciate you saying that. I look forward to any input on ways to show them our appreciation as a district, because these things are important that the community know and that being honest. So thank you for saying that.
I was just reminding you that James picked this up starting July 1, so typically now, I would assume, and hopefully I don't put you on the spot, is this will all be done before the house even gets underway. He'll have already got these, we'd have already approved all the contracts in the summer, and he wouldn't be doing this, so he's really catching up, and so a lot of the relationships he's formed and the effort he's had to put in to do this while we're building the house, it shouldn't happen like this again, so, but thank you.
Because these are for the existing house that we're doing,
Right.
right?
Correct.
Okay, so what you're saying though is we'll get ahead of it for the next.
Yeah, the plan will be, I mean, we'll have our next lot purchased here in the next 45 days. We'll have a home design. We'll be going to bid. We'll have all these to you at one time before school starts next year. So right now, that's the reason why some of these, there's no discount on them. It's because we're getting to the point we need a fireplace. So we just have to get a bid and get a fireplace.
Yeah, thank you, James, for all the
Thanks
work.
for your time.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so rest of new business, so moving on to superintendent's report.
Okay,
Joe?
the enrollment report's always in there. Now, the draft of for the public hearing of the calendars there, remember, it's 123. The next board meeting will have a public hearing to approve next year's calendar. So this is, I think, the third time we've had a board together trying to get people, the public, plenty of notice for it, for that. Day on the Hill's coming up on the 14th of February. Bernie and Heather will be going up, and they'll get a vehicle and things, so we just need board members to let Trina know so she can sign everybody up that's going up to the Day on the Hill. So please do so soon, so we can start making plans for that. Friday, we actually close on the bonds for the SAVE this Friday, right, Joe?
Yeah.
So we'll have, that money will be in hand as of Friday. Tomorrow's a big day, the governor gives her speech, and I think we'll get a very clear picture of what this session is going to look like. Everything from probably the percentage, because she normally recommends a percent increase. She'll recommend, you know, the vouchers or saving program. We're going to hear a lot about education tomorrow night, so we'll know a lot. And on Wednesday, we'll know what our renewal for health insurance is. So we'll start having a lot of things fall into place for next year's budget. At least some ideas of what that will be, and so that's good. Joni Ertz will be here Thursday, so all you're invited if you're able to come from 9 o'clock until 10:15. So she'll here at the high school, correct? Just meet at the front foyer at the high school. And then, let's see if I had the Alan Shepard project again next week on the 18th. We will get the bids in and have hopefully they will come in at budget, and we'll be moving forward with hopefully that project at the next board meeting. And so I think there will be maybe a potential couple work sessions prior to the next board meeting, just to prepare you for that. Jill, we need a quick one for the finance committee because our auditors will be part of that that board meeting. That one's also scheduled for a full session evaluation at the end of that meeting, so it could be a long meeting for you guys. So we'll get more information out. Just want to give you a heads up on that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Joe? All right, any board comments or correspondence? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, might as well do roll call one last time on this one.
Maxwell, aye.
Bergfeld, aye.
Lindemann, aye.
What I
Different, aye.
Pratt, aye.
Adjourn the meeting. Gabby, aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
All right, thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.